If you see that there's a car there, it's probably not the smartest thing to indicate and suddenly steer straight into their path. Hey guys, Lewis from Recycle Bicycle Sales here. Today I wanted to teach you how to safely ride your bike on the road. Unfortunately, the harsh reality just is that riding on the road is more dangerous than riding on the footpath. So today we're going to run through a couple of top tips to help make it as safe as we can. The first point we need to talk about is making sure that you're visible. Cars don't know to avoid you if they can't see you. If you're wearing camouflage clothes, maybe that's a bad example. If you're wearing all black and you're riding at midnight, it's pretty hard for a car to be able to see where you are. So they don't know to avoid you. So I highly recommend having some sort of, nice bright clothing, or perhaps reflective if you can. Here we've got a pretty nice bright colored bike as well. So hopefully that stands out to cars a little bit. And a silly one that I've learned over time is white shoes tend to stand out more as you're pedaling. I know it sounds silly, but just having a little bit of movement can just sort of draw a car's eyes across to your shoes. Good job wearing nice, bright, reflective clothes and helmet. Just like that. And on the topic of visibility, I always recommend having a set of lights, especially a rear one. Even during the day, I still choose to have a flashing rear red light. The front one, it's always good to have a nice light on the front, but behind you, a car might be coming up and you don't know that they're there. So having a nice bright reflective light, which is flashing, can help stand out to cars a little bit more and just make it a little bit safer when you're out on the road. The reason that I say flashing is because a flashing light will draw people's eyes to it. While we're still on the topic of visibility, even just making sure that the cars can see you. If they can't see you because you're sitting in the blind spot, then they don't know that you're there. So that's a dangerous spot to sit. So if I'm riding along next to a car, I will always try and speed up or slow down so that I can see their eyes in their rear view mirror so that they can see me, and then we've all seen each other and we're all nice and visible. So staying out of blind spots is the topic that I'm pointing at here. This is especially important on busy roads. Here in Australia, we drive on the left. So if a car was to turn left and you happen to be sitting there, they might just quickly turn left in traffic and not know that you were there. So I'm gonna say expect the unexpected, but your best chance is to be in a nice visible location. Perhaps instead of riding along in the blind spot of a car, could you speed up a little bit and just get in front of them so that they can see you in their front window? If you can do that, great. If not, slow down so that you're at least in their rear view mirror. I also recommend, if you have the option, I like a white helmet because I feel like the white is more reflective and stands out to cars a little bit more. Another point to mention is that in the rain, it's even worse. It's almost impossible for a car to see you. In the rain, I think you'd be an idiot not to be running a rear light because it's just genuinely that hard to see you. The next thing I want to talk about is to just be predictable. When we're out riding on the roads, cars don't know what you're about to do. So here's a few tips to stay more predictable out on the roads in traffic. The first tip that I want to talk about is hand signals. Hand signals are just simply by you sort of putting your hand out to one side, indicating that you're going to be turning either left or right. I think they're incredibly important. Cars have indicators. It's more or less the same with a bike. We just use our arm. I would say it might be a smart thing to try and learn how to ride with one hand off the handlebars, and that way you're able to point, because that can be a little skill to learn as well. Another tip that I like to recommend is while you're riding, practicing being able to look back over your shoulder. That way you're able to see if a car's coming behind you. If you see that there's a car there, it's probably not the smartest thing to indicate and suddenly steer straight into their path. It might be smarter just to see that they're there and just come back and just wait until they pass, and then you can look again. Now it's clear, now I'll turn. Another seemingly obvious one is stay on the correct side of the road. Here in Australia, we ride our bikes on the left-hand side of the road. So we would be sticking to the left and most cars are gonna pass us on our right. The third point here is to stay alert. There's so many things going on while you're out riding your bike. And if you've got distractions for while you're riding, maybe you're looking down at your phone or listening to music, you might not be able to hear that danger that's coming along. So first things first, avoid headphones and using your mobile phone when you're riding. They're probably the two most common distractions that I see out there. I don't know about you, if I'm listening to music while I'm riding my bike, I'm not thinking about that car that might be driving next to me that could literally kill me. Even just simply having your ears cleared, not having anything covering your ears, means that you can understand everything. Right now, I'm listening to a bird that's up in that tree, and I'm also listening to that guy bouncing the basketball over there. I'm just so aware of what's going on. I'm not looking at either of those things, but I know that they're there because I'm not listening to my music. And same goes for your phone. There's an ad here in Australia that says, if you're on your phone, no one's driving. And I think the same rule applies when you're on your bike. If you're on your phone trying to take your Snapchat, no one's riding because you're not looking at what's happening around you. We've mentioned in quite a few videos now that having maps on your phone while you're on your bike can be really helpful, and I still stand by that. All I'm saying is don't be sitting on your phone while you're in traffic. Maybe you pull over to the side of the road, have a look at where you go. Oh, yep, the left turns in 500 meters. Okay, cool. And now you know. And the last point I want to hit is to keep your hands on the handlebars. I know that I was saying before that you might want to indicate that you're turning, but I recommend just looking back to see if it's clear before you take your hand off the handlebar. If you were to suddenly take your hand off the handlebar and there's a car right next to you, you're being a little bit unpredictable. And that goes back to our first point. It also means that you won't have full control of the bike, most notably braking and steering, which you need if you're going to avoid a crash. When you're sitting behind a car, I recommend keeping a nice safe distance, or perhaps even riding behind your buddy as well. You want to keep a nice safe distance. If you're, for example, one bike length behind the car, and if a young child was to walk out in front of the car and they had to slam on the brakes, I know that you think that your brakes might be amazing, and they absolutely might be, but your reaction time might not be fast enough because you didn't see the child that walked out in front of the car. So having a nice safe braking distance, because the brakes on a car, I would argue, are a lot more powerful than the brakes on a bike. Now, I know that some of this responsibility can be put on the driver as well, but nonetheless, if there was an impact between a cyclist and a car, I know who's going to come off worse every single time. But it's also important to think about the distance from the side. If you're riding along next to a car and that car was just to move a little bit closer to you, would they go a little bit closer to you without bumping? Maybe, maybe not. That's something worth considering as well. Just having a bit of spatial awareness all around you and just sort of knowing what's going on. And a bonus tip that we've got is to just remind yourself when you're in the driveway about to leave, every car wants to kill you. It's not actually true, but it's good to have that mindset when you're out there. If you're riding along expecting that that car might just suddenly turn in front of you, it means that you're expecting it and you're ready for it, and you can sort of predict it, I suppose. You can be ready for that scenario. Even if you're doing everything right and you're following the law, sometimes cars just genuinely might not see you or might try and sort of make the gap or something like that. So just remembering that every car wants to kill you, again, it's not true, but it's a good mindset to have, is just the best way to be when you're out on the bike, because it means that you're super alert and ready for anything. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you've learned a couple of things about how to ride out on the road nice and safely. If you reckon there's anything that we've missed, or maybe something that you learned the hard way that you could teach someone the easy way in the comments below, we'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I'm going to say thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.